Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today we are going to do a character guide on Cid. Cid just came back on the current banners, so I'm sure people are wondering, how do I use his kit, what's he good at, things like that. He's actually a very simple character to play. So in this video, we're going to go ahead, we're going to look at his artifacts, his spheres, and then we'll do a quick little guide, show you how he works, and explain what his kit does. We'll start off here with his force enhancements. His force enhancements are standard. So once again, he is primarily a damage dealing character. So if you want to maximize his damage, you want to take him to 30. I just have mine at 10. He'll still operate okay at 10 if you just want to go minimum investment on the force enhancements. He doesn't have any force charging attacks, so you don't really have to stress about that. But just keep in mind, character is always better at 30 if you really like him and are going to use him, right? So let's go ahead and hop in here. And we're going to start off with the artifacts. He's a very standard artifact character. It's just attack 108, max brave 330. He doesn't have a crazy C50 passive you want to equip or anything like that. So just go with the standard there. He does do a lot of, to maximize his damage, increasing his max brave floor and HP damage up calls and things like that can really help him. So having the max brave, having the attack there, very good for getting the most out of his damage. And then we're going to go ahead and look at his spheres. So with the A slot, you want like attack and brave damage, which is standard, but Cid has a few things that he can qualify for, right? So he is range damage. So there are some very good potent range damage spheres you could do here. He also does weakness damage. He's a wind enchant imperil character. He only enchants himself, I believe, but he will always imperil the enemy, so he himself will always be doing weakness damage that way. So any weakness A slots, any range damage ones, or you could just use standard ones as well. So for range damage, actually Kane's is very good. So it's when you're inflicting a break or attacking a target with break, you get a big fat ranged attack up. So Kane's is a very good one. And then weakness damage, Rydia would probably be the best weakness damage because it's attack and brave damage on it at the same time. I don't have a lot of Rydia, so I can't really put that on there. So I just do like a Golbez on when attacking weakness, attack up. So I mean, pretty standard, right? So you just look through your A slot, see what you have for brave damage and attack spheres and go with that. The C slot's a little bit trickier because a lot of the C slot spheres have to do with healing. Now, Cid actually does have one attack that can heal, but it's a transformed HP attack, and you're not going to have it like up a ton. Like, he's not healing a lot, right? So I really wouldn't go with a healing sphere here. So for the best traditional C slot you're going to be able to put on him is like Alphanod, right? But because he does have that little bit of healing, if you want to make him like just have more consistent healing, there are actually like C spheres that can make him heal more often. So I actually wanted to give him a little healing utility. So I gave him Theodore here. So when attacking a broken target or breaking a target, it's just like a little party HP heal. It's small, but it's just like a little bit. So I gave him that. Aiko, Braska, and 9, those also will give him healing. I think Braska is a party heal, and then Aiko and 9, I think, are only healing himself. So if you want to give him healing utility, there are a lot of really good options on there. So just keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is any C slot where the condition is that you're buffing, those are good for Cid because he buffs like pretty much with every attack he does. But there are some that have to do with like when you debuff a target, and he actually doesn't have a lot of attacks that debuff. It's mainly his EX, his LD, and then like a special attack that comes from his LD. But really, he doesn't debuff very much at all. So I really wouldn't give him anything with a debuff requirement, to be honest, right? So that's the artifacts and spheres right there. So let's go ahead and hop into the showcase here. Once again, we're just hopping into the first ever Shinryu. Just it's an easier fight. I can kind of get through here. We don't really need to worry about a friend unit right now. So we'll just hop in with this team right here. So basically what Cid is all about, he's pretty much a damage dealer that is wind damage. He's range damage. The big thing with him is that he can dispel buffs from targets, which is very good. Not a lot of characters have dispel, so he is a good dispelling character. He does it with his 35, which is good, right? So let's get Garnet started up here. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of just get into Cid and get him rolling, right? So he is going to start off pretty much with like all of his buffs. So there isn't like, you don't have to start with any particular attack with him. You can kind of choose and go with what you want to do. But really, you're just maintaining buffs with him. And then using Dispel when you need it. And pretty much press his EX when it comes up. He's a very standard, easy character to play. It's pretty hard to misplay him. Really, the only way you can misplay him is like if you really need to debuff something and you don't Dispel it. That's about it. Or if you like let a buff fall off, but like if you're kind of dancing around pressing buttons, you're gonna be okay here, right? So we'll just start off by just showing each attack, and then we'll just kind of explain what they do. He is starting with the EX right away, so you could open with that because then you give the EX chance to refresh again. So sure, let's go ahead and pop the EX here. So the EX is gonna do like alternating attacks. So it's gonna go, yeah, it's gonna alternate back and forth between the two characters. But big, or no, sorry, that's the LD. That one's just like a big brave attack there, right? Okay. So his EX that we just did, it delays all the enemies one turn. So he does have a little delay in there. So that is good to note that he has that. And then that does put the wind resist down. So you could open with that to get that wind resist down right away. That's not a bad way to start off, right? So that's basically what he gets from that. So now let's go ahead and go back to Rem and let's swap into Sid again. All right. So what we can do next is we can do hyper jump, which is the 15. So what this one's going to do, you're going to see it's just a little AoE attack, but it gives him a Lancer buff. And the Lancer buff is just a big attack and max Brave buff for him, but it is going to change his HP and Brave attack. So what we'll do is we can show that now. So let's go ahead and swap back into Sid again. So what he has now, and he did start with Lancer, so he had these at the beginning, but I just want you to know where it comes from. So he's got Boost Jump and he's got Dragoon, right? So if we use Boost Jump here, Boost Jump I believe has high turn rate, but we'll go ahead and we'll just use it here. And that will refresh his Lancer buff, or adds 2 turns to the Lancer buff. So it's just a quick little wind AoE attack, and it gets that Lancer buff back on. And then we'll go ahead and swap back into Sid again. And that the boost jump we just did is better for like AoE Brave Shaving, right? Now here his other one is called Dragon. So Dragon is his other transformed HP attack. And this is the one that heals a little bit. So you can see we just did do a little bit of heal. So I mean, because that Lancer buff is always going to be up, you're pretty much always going to have access to it. So I guess he can heal on command with it. It's just not the craziest. So if you did want to go with the healing C slot, I guess you could. But like, typically when I'm using Sid, I usually don't use those HP attacks very often because you typically have enough skill uses to get through a fight without them. But just know he does have that little heal in his back pocket with that attack, right? So let's go ahead with Garnet here. Let's just pop her LD, I guess. Now the cool thing with Sid is, you know, like how Garnet has her big overhead buff that does the follow-ups. Sid has something very similar to that. Garnet's is like a million times better. But Sid's is still pretty cool. So we'll try to get that off here. It's going to come from his LD. So let's swap back into Sid. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Hyper Jump. This is his 35. So let's actually do that. Okay. And that 35 is just going to be an AoE attack. It's going to give him Wind Resist down once again. Yep. And then that gives him a Dragoon buff, and that's just like another attack max Brave up, and he gets speed from it too. But the other thing that his 35 does, which you didn't really see there, that's the attack that dispels. So if the enemies had a buff on, that would have dispelled it. So let's go back into Sid again, and now we'll get the LD on so you guys can see this. So Garnet's overhead, if you're familiar, it stacks up to 4. And then after 4, like when another action happens, she does that big follow-up, right? Which we've already seen there. Let's go ahead. The other thing is AA does like heavily increase his damage. So it isn't a bad button to press before you're going to do a bunch of damage. It gives him a fat 50% attack up and then Brave damage limit up. And then it is going to add that Wind Enchant on. And then let's go ahead and use the Highwind here. So now you can see he has an overhead very similar looking to Garnet's, right? Like it's a big ship over his head with stacks on it. Now, Garnet's has to stack up to 4, but Sid's only stacks up to 3. The reason why Garnet's is better, though, is her stacks up with basically any action and will trigger on any action. Sid's only stacks on his own turns, and then on an ally turn is when it will activate. So let's go ahead and get back to Sid. Okay, so we're just going to do an action with Sid, and we're going to see that go up to 3 stacks. And then when the next ally takes an action, he's going to get like a big follow-up attack, right? So let's go ahead and we'll just do that EX here. And once again, this is going to have that 1-turn delay on it. Yep, so the enemies are delayed. And now you can see he's at 3 stacks, and the 3 is gold, so that's telling us at max stacks. So now Garnet's going to go ahead and take Rem's going to take a turn here. And then we should see a bombs away attack happen. Yep, here's the bombs away attack. Does pretty good damage too. Okay. And so that bombs away attack does the party battery. It does, once again, big wind attack. Resets the stacks back to 1, and then it does a wind resist down. So there you go. I mean, that's that's basically it. There really isn't much else to say about Sid. It's really, if you're using them, it's because you like the wind damage, you like the character. The big thing, for me, the big sell with him is that he has that on-demand Dispel. That's really the thing that I like about him, is having access to that. But that's basically all of his attacks. That's everything he does. You're basically just pressing buttons to manage his buffs and keep that going. But just remember, your Dragon Dive here, the big thing is your Dragon Dive is your Dispel, and then the regular Dragon attack is your little party heal. So right now you can see that we lost a little bit of HP, so we could do this little Dragon attack here. You can see we got a little bit of a heal on there. So anyways, guys, there you go. There's Sid. Hopefully this guide helps you all out. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord. My Discord is posted in the description, or feel free to leave a comment in the video. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you all on the next one.